topic, something that's been definitely getting a lot of attention this week. The Charlie's Angels movie. So recently we had a reboot of the franchise, the new Charlie's Angels movie with Kristen Stewart, Naomi Scott, and Elizabeth Banks, who stars, writes, and directs this film. Now, Elizabeth Banks has come under some heat recently because of an interview she gave. And I want to point this out, that there's a misconception about this interview. If you already heard about it, I just want to clear this up. She gave this interview before the movie came out. All right? I want to make that clear. She gave this interview before the movie came out, not after the movie came out. Because the movie has unfortunately bombed. It did very poorly at the box office its opening weekend, only gaining, from last time I heard, $8 to $9 million, which to any average Joe, $8 to $9 million, holy crap, that sounds great to me. But for a movie, no, unless it's a very, very low budget film, like I don't know, like a Pure Flix film. That's a horrible opening weekend. Horrible opening weekend. And she gave now this is from an article on Yahoo.com. She gave the interview talking about the movie, and she may have pissed off a few people. During the interview, they brought up other, female-led action movies such as, Wonder Woman and Captain Marvel, things like that. And she talking about what the film needs to be successful. So let's just get it. I'm just going to read the comments. Okay, so anyway, Elizabeth Banks, once again, stars, directs, and wrote the film, says, look, people have to buy tickets to this movie, too. This movie has to make money. If this movie doesn't make money, it reinforces a stereotype in Hollywood that men... Ooh, excuse me. Being a little burp there, I guess being manly, I guess. I don't know. A stereotype in Hollywood that men don't go see women do action movies. Now, this part of the statement is completely fair. I mean, obviously, no duh, a movie has to make money to be successful. And there is a stereotype in Hollywood that men aren't interested in female-led action movies. And it's true. That is a real stereotype in Hollywood. I mean, think about, Wonder Woman. How many Batman and Superman movies did we have before we finally had a Wonder Woman movie? Meanwhile, Wonder Woman is one of the most famous superheroes on the planet. She is part of the DC Trinity, of Wonder Woman's Batman and Superman. This is true. And, there were talks in Hollywood for a Wonder Woman movie for years, but it kept on getting pushed aside because most studios didn't think people wanted to see a Wonder Woman movie because it was a female-led action movie. They thought it was too much of a gamble. Hell, Marvel, with all its success, we really only had its first female-led movie with Captain Marvel. Meanwhile, people were asking for a Black Widow movie for long before Captain Marvel came out. We're now going to get a Black Widow movie, which I think is maybe not the best time for it, but whatever. But yeah, so that is a stereotype in Hollywood. So I totally agree with her on that. There's nothing wrong. Now, as the interview goes on, we start to talk about other female-led action movies such as Wonder Woman, Captain Marvel. Banks goes on to say, says that the female-fronted comic book films are still tied to a large male genre. Meaning, what she's basically trying to say is, great that those movies were successful and all that stuff. That's nice, and they had female leads, but it's appealing to the male demographic. She's saying that for this to be really work, it has to appeal to the women demographic. I feel like that's what she's trying to say, because otherwise that doesn't make any sense. And Miss Banks, I've never met you, but I've seen you in plenty of films. You're a very talented actress. Credit to you. But comic books and movies, that's a very male-led thing. I don't disagree with you there, but it's just it still feels like a little disrespectful that you're not giving these movies credit, because once again, nobody thought a Wonder Woman movie was going to be successful, and it is one of the biggest successes of the recent DC franchise, the DCEU. In fact, it pretty much kept the DCEU on life support until we were able to get to Aquaman and Shazam. So I don't know. That sounds kind of goofy to me, but anyway. She goes on to say, they'll go and see a comic book movie with Wonder Woman and Captain Marvel because that's a male genre. So even though those are movies about women, they put them in the context of feeding the larger comic book world. So it's all about, yes, you're watching a Wonder Woman movie, but we're setting up three other characters, or we're setting up Justice League. Okay, well, that's not really a problem of. That was a Warner Brothers problem. I think it's pretty clear at this point that Warner Brothers really screwed up when it came to the DCEU. You know, you had Man of Steel, which came out to mixed reviews. As I said before, I think it's okay. Batman v Superman, holy crap, did that cause a lot of controversy. I mean, people were, like back and forth. It's a great movie. It's a horror movie. It's a great movie. It's a horrible movie. And then the Suicide Squad was the reshoots where the movie was finally edited by a trailer house, which not saying there's not talent in making a good trailer, but there's a difference between a 2.5-minute trailer and a 2-hour film. There's a pacing, editing, so much. And that's more of a problem with the way Warner Brothers approached it. They were trying to set up 3, 4, 5, 8 films while they were only 2 films deep. That was more of a Warner Brothers issue. So I get what she's saying. She wants to make female-led movies that, women can love. But here's the thing. The action movie genre, whether, it's a male lead or a female lead, it's always been mostly interested by men. And I'm not saying women can't love action film. I have plenty of friends who love Kanuchi, my Twitch gaming friend. She's she loves action movies. She loves horror movies. She loves all that kind of stuff. But you can't ignore the fact that it's still a dominantly male genre, over time, I hope, more and more women get more into action movies. Like I said, we got plenty right now, but it's still a more male genre. But you just got to kind of deal with certain realities, It almost seems like she's trying to set up, like, once again, this interview happened before the movie came out. A lot of people are thinking that the interview happened after the movie came out, and she's making excuses for why the movie flopped. But since it came up, the interview happened before the movie, it makes like she's setting up excuses already why the movie might flop. Because there were predictions the week before the movie came out that it wasn't going to do well. And no offense, but I wasn't expecting this movie to, I haven't seen Charlie's Angels. So I have no opinion on whether it's good, bad, okay, whatever. For all I know, most of the critics could be full of crap, and this movie could be great. I can't judge it. But I will say this. This movie had multiple factors going against it. The trailer wasn't really that great. It wasn't horrible, but it was fine. The movie really didn't have enough star power. Elizabeth Banks has been in a ton of films. She's a noted actress. And like I said, I think she's a good one, but she's not so huge that she can draw a crowd. I don't think her status has risen to that, Also, because on to her, you got Patrick Stewart in the movie, who, a lot of people love Patrick Stewart. I love Patrick Stewart, but the trailer makes it pretty clear that he's briefly in the movie. I think both trailers show that he's very briefly in the film, so he's not a big player. Maybe if he had a more dominant role, his star power could have brought on some more people. But after that, you have Kristen Stewart, who most people still remember her from the Twilight films, and probably still some people remember her for the cheating controversy between her and Robert Pattinson, which is, as far as I know, the two of them are in a good place. That is completely in the past when there's no bad vibes between them anymore. And she's been trying to rebuild her career for the past several years, doing a lot of indie films. And I've started seeing more and more trailers of her coming up in feature films that are going to be released, nationwide. So she's kind of rebuilding her career. And I know a lot of people hate Kristen Stewart. I don't think she's a bad actress. I think she's a good actress. I don't. I think she just gets a lot of hate because of Twilight. I'm not saying she's my favorite actress or anything, but I think people need to lay off her. And the only other notable name in the movie is Naomi Scott, who she played Princess Jasmine in the Aladdin live action remake recently, but that was kind of it. That's really all she's known for. She was also the big Power Ranger in the Power Ranger movie, but that movie just kind of people mostly forgotten about it, except for Power Ranger fan base, of course, and the other people, but. Yeah, she's really only known for Aladdin, and as well as Aladdin did, it got some mixed reviews here or there. I liked it. Wasn't great, but I liked it. Could have been better. It could have been better. But yeah, so it's missing star power. It didn't have a good advertisement about it with the trailer or the commercials. And here's the big one. Here's the big thing of what really crippled this movie, and it doesn't surprise me that it did poorly at box office. It was up against Ford versus Ferrari, which had everything in the positive that this movie didn't. It had a great trailer. It had serious star power with Matt Damon and Christian Bale. It had a David versus Goliath story. It had it was based on a true story of, a story here in America going up against Ferrari. This Ford versus, and once again, I reviewed that movie last week. Great movie. I think it's awesome. I recommended that people go see it. It just was the bigger draw. The movie is Charlie's Angels, because of its lack of star power, its poor advertising, and the fact that it's come out the same weekend as a much more appealing film that would draw people in. It was the underdog the whole time. And unfortunately, unlike Rudy, it didn't shine. And I'm sorry, but that's the truth of the matter. That's how things went down. Once again, I haven't seen Charlie's Angels. I could be really good. I don't know. All I can say is it was always always had its back against the wall. Hey everybody, hope you enjoyed that clip. We live stream every Thursday night on our Twitch channel, and of course check us out on the River's Edge Online Radio Network.